The beautiful art of staying calm. So, believe it or not, it all starts with your thoughts. And people don't actually understand this as much as they should. So, let me guys give you an example um, of what worked for me and why I'm generally such a calm person. And let me redefine what that means. It doesn't mean I'm completely chill 24/7. It just means that I don't react to things excessively. So I do have moments where I get angry, but it's not like rage. Thankfully, I've never been violent, but anyway, the main point of this video is to ground you. Whenever you feel like something is not working out and you want to think about the positive outcomes, you need to remember you have a few seconds before your thoughts become your mood. And people often say that whatever you think about or dwell about the most, that's usually what would manifest. So if you keep thinking about something which is sad and associating yourself with something sad, your mood is not going to get better. In fact, your mood is going to get worse. So sometimes you might be thinking listening to sad songs helps you feel better. While this temporarily is true, it actually feeds your sadness and your depression. But anyway, I'm going to be telling you guys why I would be someone who you should listen to regarding this. So let me just tell you some more personal things because I like to use examples to back my points. And it's best to use my own because I actually know what I'm talking about. But you guys should know that I'm going to mention things without triggering anyone. But let me just say that one time I had a panic attack. Okay. And it was actually last year. And I'm not going to go into vast details. I was just thinking about things and I was just stressing. I was having a panic attack. And you know what happened? I was thinking about my thoughts. So, this is why I don't like Google because whenever you search up what symptoms you have, Google gives you the worst outcome. So, I was stressing about that, right? And then I felt my chest clench, and it was pretty dreadful. I felt it for several hours. But then I had a similar moment a few days later, but I didn't go into panic attack mode because my thoughts were grounded. And here's what I did instead. I reminded myself that that's not happening. And you have to speak to yourself internally before you can think about the external. So, if someone has done something to you or you're going through something in life, it always starts with your thoughts. Even if you're not consciously thinking about thoughts and you're just instinctively rushing to do something, it always stems from a thought. And that thought, whether it's instinct based or not, is always going to be based on something you have associated yourself with. If you are someone who's just generally in a rush, then you're going to rush in an emergency. If you're someone who is so chill and doesn't care, then that emergency is not going to feel like anything to you. And the thing I wanted to mention is that you guys should understand in order to have the best case scenario for things is not about assuming what the worst case or the best case is. It's about being neutral and letting things be the way that they are. Because a lot of us just think I need to be positive or I'm too negative. There's two extremes, polar opposites. But if you just let things be the way that they are, then that helps you feel more grounded. You don't have to say, I have to be positive. You don't have to say, I'm too negative. Like, yes, from time to time, you do have to say, okay, I'm a tad bit too negative. I should be more positive. But you need to balance the two together. It's like rain and sunshine. Too much of either one is obviously not going to be helpful. The sun will dehydrate the fudge out of you, and the rain is going to drown you. So you have to have an equal balance of both of the you know, stuff. My words are just dying right now. When you ground yourself with positive thinking, it doesn't mean, oh, my life is great. Oh, this is great. No, no, no. It starts with how you address things. Is the situation as bad as your mind makes it? A lot of the times, I've read this before, our anxiety lies to us. How many times have you thought or dreaded the worst? Like, I won't make it, I won't survive, and then you realize you did. Your anxiety is often scarier than, your actual experience. Sometimes this is true. I'll tell you guys another example. So one time I wanted to go to a fun fair with some friends. This was some years ago. And there was a ride that everyone talks about because it's so popular. I couldn't sleep properly because I kept dreading how scary that ride was, even though I went on it. And then I kid you not, when I actually went on the ride the next day, I wasn't even half as scared. It was actually fun. And now when I think about it, it sounds so stupid because it's such an easy ride. It's just our mind likes to create all of these fake ideas. And another thing I learned about the mind, and guys, this is like a hidden gem that I would honestly be willing to share. I don't want to gatekeep, is that our mind teaches us how to protect ourselves. It doesn't teach you how to be successful, how to become the best version of yourself. You know what I mean? Our mind wants protection, and there's nothing wrong with protection, but sometimes there is a type of limitation. And protection can mean I need to stay in my shell, I need to stay at home, I need to stay out of trouble. You know what I mean? That's protection. But at the same time, it is indeed restriction as well. So our mind does not understand um, what's actually right and what's actually wrong. It's just on survival mode. So the other thing I wanted to say for anyone to feel a bit more convinced by my words is that I've mentioned this in another video, but I'm still going to say it again. I used to be such a pessimist, always thinking about the worst situations, always thinking about life being this, life being that, just predictable stuff like that, like horribly pessimistic. So life did humble me in a way where I was just thinking, things can be good, things can help. And now I see things in a different way. And it's not just religion, even though that does play a major component. I want to speak to everyone, not just my religious audience. If I see a storm, I'm going to say that, of course, it's destructive, but I will still acknowledge that it will pass. And this is how I keep myself grounded. During the storm, I'm not going to say, oh, it's fine, it'll be over. No, there's destruction, there's a lot of chaos. There's obviously going to be some parts where I'm going to feel like, you know what, I genuinely can't do this. I don't know where I'm going, guys, don't question. I'm just kind of talking and moving. And then there is also the idea that you just have to keep going, you know? Every single time that you do something in life, there's a good reason behind it. So, whenever you guys think about doing something for yourselves, just try to have a neutral opinion about it. And with the storm that comes and goes, during the time, you can't act okay. Feel the pain, feel the grief, feel the tears, because you can't just say, oh, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm this. Of course not. Let yourself feel, man. Let yourself feel. But don't dwell in that terrible, terrible emotion, because I'm telling you, that's gonna be what keeps you down, and you don't want that. So, how do we control these thoughts of ours? Reframe it. Is it as bad as I am making it sound? I often ask myself this: is this helping me grow or not? A lot of the times I say no, and then I start laughing, and then I just completely forget about what was bothering me. And it does come back to haunt you. It does. But when you learn how to handle things, when you learn how to reframe it, it's not as bad. And you realize it's actually a lot more trivial than, you pay your mind to. So even if there is something that you've been thinking about your whole life and it's felt terrible, because we don't want to invalidate anything, we don't want to dismiss anything. Some things may seem trivial to others, but it's big thing to us. It's a very big thing to us. But we can't let it dictate us for the rest of our lives. Like, I'm not even trying to be like cringy here and say, oh, yeah, it's easier said than I know, guys. Okay. But you can't make excuses your whole life. When you start to reach a certain age, okay, and I'm not a kid, I'm an adult, I'm a young adult for anyone who needs to know. Um, my whole teenagehood felt like I was just depressed. I'm not even kidding. But I still managed to get myself into a good stage of life. And I still have days where I feel low, duh, because I'm a human being. But the most important thing is to understand that life is not linear, okay? You're gonna go through bad days. You're gonna go through days where you probably don't want to keep going, but you'll realize you can keep going. And this is where anxiety lies to you because it makes you think, I can't do this. It makes you forget the you can do this that you've always had your whole life. And that's exactly why you need to master your thoughts. So it does not start with something overnight. You can't just say, okay, my thoughts, I'm happy go lucky, let's go. No, that is fake and that's not going to help you in the slightest. Because what you guys need to do is stay sustainable and true to yourself. If you lie to yourself and say you're fine when you're not, your mind is going to be like a dam and it's going to crack. You're going to feel like you need to explode, you know? You're not helping yourself at all. So being calm is really all down to the discipline of the thoughts. Because if you are someone who is angry, you've already lost, right? You've basically just told yourself, I am a slave to my emotions and I can't control my anger. I can't control my temper. That is not winning. That's not control. That's weakness. And some people believe that anger is a form of strength because roar, but no, it's a big weakness. It's actually stupid. When I see people get angry, it just kind of makes me feel a bit dumb because it makes me think of how, like, even when I have days when I'm angry, I just don't feel that great. And no, guys, I do have times where I feel mad, but when I was younger, I would definitely say I was more mad. Now I'm just kind of chill. And yeah, when you realize that life just goes on and you decide kind of the rules, it helps a lot. And by rules, I mean you validate what makes you happy. If you're a people pleaser, who I used to be, part of me still is, which I need to work on, you just realize that everything in life is gonna be so controlled and you probably won't even feel as happy. But when you do things for yourself, then guys, believe it or not, like uh life is gonna be incredible because you get to decide, you know what, I am so happy to have what I want to have and I don't need to worry about what they are gonna think. So yeah, it's all down to clarity as well. And besides asking yourself about how bad the situation is or if it's actually as serious, try to be reasonable with yourself. Give yourself some validation. Your feelings are valid, okay? Even if you're complaining about something which may be trivial, it's valid because your body is feeling it. Even if it's something so absurd like a food you don't like or something. I've had moments like that. I try to ground it with I'm grateful to have food because some people don't have food. And it makes me feel a bit more what's the word? It makes me acknowledge like gratitude even more because it just makes me think that you know what? There are people there who really don't have food. There are people there who don't have any food, let alone a choice of what to eat. So it reframes my mind to accept what's in front of me. Yes, I'll be honest, when I have choice, I would never choose those types of food. That's because I have that privilege and a lot of us have that privilege actually. So just try to reframe it like that because when I think about food as well, it's just something which is an illusion. I'm not talking about food itself. Let's say you want to eat something unhealthy, something fried, and then let's say you have vegetables or you have something which is still filling but healthy. both ways you're going to be filled up. Your stomach is going to feel the same. Your stomach is going to feel full. And that's the objective, you know. You're not going to feel hungry. So when you eat something healthy, your mind just has that satisfaction of eating something delicious just for a few seconds or just for a few minutes. However long you take to eat. Sorry, it is minutes. I don't take seconds to eat. Um but you guys get what I mean. If you have food you like, there's that sheer satisfaction that, okay, you choose what you eat, which is nice, but you're full. And then you have something you don't want to eat, but you still finish it anyway, you're full. Your body is going to feel a lack of hunger because you filled it up. The only difference is the in betweens, you know. It's like when you have different classes, like when it comes to airplanes and stuff, you know, there's first class, middle, all of that stuff, economy. You're going to the same place. There's just that gratification that you feel a bit more like, okay, I get this treatment just for a few hours or whatever, and then you realize you're going to the same place. So similarly, our mind works like that. Our mind doesn't always want to help us out. Our mind sometimes wants us to stay in survival mode. And that's where I mentioned the class thing and I mentioned about food. Because sometimes our mind craves validation, so it wants the best possible thing. And that's what creates anxiety. So, anxiety can be caused by many different things. Of course, the general idea is that it's fear, and it happens when you're generally fearful of something. I just repeat myself, wow. But our mind loves validation, and the only way to calm that down is to reframe it. I don't need this, you know, and I don't need to think about um yada yada yada, you know. It just makes you feel more grateful. And gratitude is such a calming emotion. It keeps me so grounded because when I am ever ungrateful and I don't think about any of the things I already have, my mind focuses on what I don't have, and that's focusing on lack. And that's when we start to feel inferior about things, which causes even more stress, doubt. So, this can be for anything when it's relationships, when it's like a dream of yours. You just have to realize that you don't need any of the super external things. You just need of what's of value, you know. And that's how I stay calm. I know some of the examples I mentioned were a little bit, I don't know, over the top, but I hope they somehow did correlate to what I was saying. Because, yeah, our mind likes to have good things. Our mind likes to feel like, oh, wow, I have something. You know, some of us really do feel like that. And it's not about bragging, it's about feeling like you have validation, like you have some type of privilege, you know. Sometimes we just want the best things, and if we don't have the best things, then we will feel like terrible. And I don't mean materialistically. Sometimes it can just be relationships, or it could just be I'm not ahead of life like some people are, you know, all of that stuff. And yeah, when I started to think more about all of the in betweens, it made me realize that life can be chill. It's so easy to be calm. It all starts with your thoughts. When you ask yourself a question, when you sit down and ask yourself, and try to do this once, guys, because I often heard the hardest part about something is starting, you know? Like, if you ever want to go somewhere where you need to discipline yourself, like a gym or whatever, you need to go one time by forcing yourself. And then your mind will be susceptible to it. You'll think, okay, I've done it once, I can go, I lived, you know, that kind of stuff. If you've never done it, you're not going to feel like going. So it's like that. It's the same when it comes to your thoughts. You have to force yourself one day and say, is this helping me? Calm down and ask yourself. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, like, what are you doing? But then you realize that it helps you stay grounded. Okay. And if I, who was a super pessimist in the past, who didn't like life whatsoever, where a friend literally told me that I needed to think positively about life, could do this, you guys can do this too. Seriously. And we still have days where we're figuring things out. But everything comes down to how we perceive stuff. You don't need to say everything's, fine, everything's really well. You can just say things are the way that they are. But at the least, just try to find something good about the situation. Like, I went through this, but I'm still alive. There are people who wish they were alive right now, like, genuinely. And then people might complain, oh, I feel a little bit overweight, I feel underweight. There are people out there who want what you have, not just that you're alive. There are people out there who may be conventionally attractive, but maybe their life is not that fun. There's always a behind the scenes, and that also gives me some clarity and calm, because comparison is really the thief of joy as well. When I compared myself to people and when I thought, okay, people my age are doing this, people are doing that, it gave me unnecessary stress. And I have necessary and unnecessary stress. So, necessary stress for me, I guess this is just kind of a term I made up. I'm not saying I'm an establisher or whatever, but this is something I made up on the spot. Necessary stress for me is something that helps me move forward. Like, I'm worried about this, but it's not killing me, it's not destroying my sleep, but it's making me care enough to actually move. Like when it comes to making videos or continuing the channel, whatever, all of that stuff. But unnecessary stress is like, oh, what's gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. I can't sleep over it. The future is meant to be the future for a reason. And I guess that's another reason why people tend to overthink. The future is something that we can't determine. And in all honesty, we can't say if it's going to be positive, but we can't guarantee that. But we can't guarantee that will be negative either. And that's the beauty of the future, that there's nothing to be afraid of, okay? Because you're not guaranteeing anything bad. And even if you're thinking there's nothing good either, there could be an abundance of goodness out there. I don't know why I'm here. Oh no, why am I here? Oh, I see. It just wants me to move the boxes. So yeah, I hope this somehow helped you guys. I know that I'm not the best at explaining stuff. But yeah, that's how I like to keep myself calm. I just like to remember that everything is also temporary, and um what else? Yeah. It's all about discipline. It's all about, if you can do it once, then you can do it as many times as needed. You know, like, you guys are valuable. You guys are precious. You guys deserve to feel amazing. You guys deserve to have nights where you can actually sleep and not worry about something. And also speak to yourself like you deserve it, like you are, that person. Like, that's literally how we should be. Like, people will always try to bring you down. People do that. People unfortunately suck in that aspect. And what are we supposed to do about that? Are we supposed to entertain such stupidity? Of course not. You just have to realize that being calm is really something that helps you. It's not just I'm calm, you're in a good mood as well. You're not stressing. You don't have to force yourself to be a certain way. You don't have to be like, oh my goodness, it's always going to be happy. It's always going to be sad. You don't have to be like that. When you're calm, things just be. And I know emergencies are another thing, but you just realize that when you are chill in life, when you can take a breath, when you could calm down, when you could have a moment to yourself, it's so nice. And I really should do meditating more often. Maybe I should do some meditation and tell you guys how it is. I have done it before, I just need to make a habit of it. Maybe we should do it together. We should just remind each other to do something really comforting together. But yeah, I just wanted to mention this. I suddenly felt like making a video, and I was thinking this topic just feels so aligned with what people need nowadays. Because everyone's stressing. Like, everyone talks about, oh, this happened, that happened, oh dear, my Wi-Fi went bye-bye, all of that stuff. Everyone has something to complain about, but complaining itself is a repulsive type of energy. And energy is something which is also from our thoughts. If our thoughts are mostly negative, it aligns with a negative frequency. So that's why certain people feel bad vibes from us, or we don't feel that great. People can actually feel that. And I was thinking, I wonder how you guys see me on YouTube. Because sometimes I do feel like I can be a little bit of a low energy person, especially when I'm expressing some personal things like I did initially. I don't mean to trigger anyone, by the way. I just mentioned them because it helped me understand. If I didn't have that panic attack, I wouldn't have known how to handle it in the future. And it wasn't ideal, I would never say it was, but it helped me have some clarity with my thoughts. And it also helped me learn about EFT tapping as well, which is something I never thought I would do. But it's so cute. It's like you could tap your shoulder or anywhere, like your heart or any part of your body. There are certain recommended places, and you just tap, I think, around 7 times or 5 times, and you just try to say something calm. So sometimes I get my heart, I put my hand on my heart, I tap it around 5 to 7 times, and I say, you are safe, I love you, I love you. It sounds so cliche, but it's like talking to your inner child, and it calms me down almost instantly. It's magic, this stuff. And there's also um, a pulse point as well on your wrist, which is a really good place to do it. And the pulse that is, at your jugular, like all of these places. It's honestly so beautiful how many ways people have decided to calm themselves down. And it is such a big deal. And if you're not a meditating person, that's fine. You don't need to use affirmations either. You just need to just realize that you can't be a pessimist for the rest of your life. And I'm not trying to assume anyone is. This video is mostly just for people who want to stay calm, who want to just stay composed. So what I'm saying is, yes, I do get mad. Yes, I do have days where I'm sad, obviously, but I don't go crazy. I don't go in a frenzy. Thankfully, I've never been that way, but this is just to tell you guys I have control, you know. So even on a really bad day, like a really, really depressed day, I still tell myself this will pass. I still feel whatever I need to feel, like it sucks, like ow, life, why, that kind of stuff. But I still tell myself it's fine, my mood is gonna change. I just have to be this way. And it somehow works because I'm not forcing myself to feel a way that's optimistic or just making things worse. Like it sucks. I admit it sucks, but I can't stay in that state. So yeah, whoopsie daisy. And that's something else. And taking action. That's probably the final thing I'd say. Take action towards what you need to do. Like, do things with your life. Like, another thing that causes immense anxiety and a lack of calmness is doing absolutely nothing. If you're someone who bedrods, if you're someone who's always doom scrolling, it happens. You see those comparisons. You just spend time doing absolutely nothing with your time and you feel like a zombie afterwards. I've had days like that. And after making videos and after being a bit more disciplined with what I do, um, I don't really feel that way anymore. In fact, I feel repulsed by it. So I still do go on social media. It's just less now. From time to time, I send reels to my friends and they send me weird stuff. I don't know. Reels are so random. I get the most strangest ones. But yeah. I hope. Oops. And if you're someone who has a lot, how do you stay calm? I'm very curious, and I do want to say this. This applies for all of my videos, but I'm probably not going to be bothered enough to say it every single time, respectfully, because it may sound a bit repetitive. But guys, my advice is not replacing anything professional, and it's personal. So you don't have to take 100% of what I say. In fact, I'd prefer if you take whatever resonates with you guys. Whatever works for you works for you. This worked for me, and I'm just trying to help people who feel a bit low in the dumps. Because when I felt super low, I was thinking, what could be worse than this? And if I somehow made it out, I was thinking someone else can benefit as well. I know I speak so out of context sometimes, but I try to link it back when I can. But yeah, that's how I like to stay calm by doing all of these things. And just realizing that the storm will indeed pass, but you still have to endure it during the time. You can't just act okay, like you're a human being, for crying out loud. But yeah, peace out, guys, and I will see you guys hopefully in another. Ah, no, my picture. They just ruined. No, no, no. You. Before I sign out, I need to destroy these guys. You dare destroy my picture? You're not photobombing. Okay. Anyway, let's go. Hopefully, not another one of those suckers comes. Let's go. So much for watching, guys. And I'll see you guys in another video. Peace and pose. And I'll see you soon.